So usually I record these videos like in my studio, you know, my apartment, my room. Not joking. My childhood room is where I record these. But today I woke up late and because there were going to be games at 1 p.m., which is the game I'm currently watching, the Cavaliers versus Miami game. You will not get my thoughts on that game. You're going to get all my thoughts from the games from last night's games. Because I record these typically before the playoff games start or the next game starts, so they can be uploaded and you can get a recap going into the night. But that didn't happen. That did not happen. So today, you're getting my thoughts now at 1 p.m. because normally 1 p.m. is way too early for me to record a video. I normally record them around like 2 to 3. Actually, one's not that early, and then I push out that video, and it'll can normally come up at like 4. But today it's gonna have to go up probably earlier than that because a recap of last night's games won't be as impactful if it comes out later. Yeah, I knew this going into today, but it was a pretty tough day to get up because I stayed up last night to watch the last playoff games to do this, and now yeah. Let's get those games pulled up from Friday. Orlando won a game. They won a game. Jason Tatum came back, and Jason Tatum had an amazing game. They won. By the way, Paulo does not score 30 in this game. Boo-hoo. He's still averaging 30 in the playoffs against the Boston Celtics, which is very impressive in my opinion. The Milwaukee Bucks did not get swept. They won one game. I did predict the series to be Pacers in 5. So there's that. And the Minnesota Timberwolves proved that they will not go away. I did also predict the series to be done in 6. So the Lakers need to win the next 3. So my predictions are not off base currently. But yeah. By the way, Miami versus Cleveland is being documented. Let's just say they're actually just destroying these niggas. There's nothing much to talk about as far as that series. We can talk about the games in chronological order today because I also think that was pretty much how they worked in entertainment value as well. So, Jason Tatum had an amazing game last night, as I said, in his return from his bone bruise. He shot 40% from 3, 45% from the field. He took 22 shots in total. Not as many as I'd like to see him take, but that's pretty good. And he made 36. He had 36 points. Now the turnovers he had were egregious. 7 turnovers. I have made this clear throughout the entire playoffs. If your team is going to have a lot of turnovers, and by the way, Jaylen Brown did not help either. These guys are still showing the same weaknesses in their ability to play make for their teammates. They are still not great ball handlers, especially in the case of Jaylen Brown. Tatum is not as egregiously bad as a ball handler, but I think more of Brown's turnovers has to do with his decision making rather than anything else, to be quite honest. Oh, by the way, Peyton Pritchard was also abysmal in this game, so that'll do it. That's really enough in general. Derek White was serviceable. He took the exact same amount of shots as Jaylen Brown. He made one more shot from the field and made less and didn't attempt any free throws. So there's that. Porzingis was also very bad this game. So like, if you're wondering why Orlando won this game, it wasn't because Orlando's offense was exactly great. It's just that the Boston's normal production that you're expecting from them was not there in the slightest. By the way, the Cavs are looking like they're going to push this lead to like 40 points right now. So if you want, when I inevitably record my video for tomorrow, yeah, so let's talk about some things that made this game close at the very end. For starters, Franz Wagner still took a lot of threes, ill-advised shots in my opinion. Should not be taking those. And that almost bit them in the ass when Boston got enough time for another shot at the end of the game. I really think he should have drove the ball and maybe floated it. That would have allowed there to be even less time on the clock, and they would have had to settle for something even less than they wouldn't even have a lob. I think by the time they were to secure that rebound and call the timeout, the game would have probably been over. So there's that. They almost lost the game off of that. He just shouldn't be shooting 13 threes. That needs to be coached out of him and fixed because that shot selection it's to say it's bad is an understatement. By the way, the Cavs just went up 40, so there's that. KCP has has still been missing. He is bit abysmal. He had 0 points. Only had 3 shots last night. I think coach has finally lost a lot of faith in him and his ability to hit these shots, and he's just not hitting them. That being said, they really need some 3-point shooting on the roster. Any would be nice, and without it, they're not going to win games. They made the least amount of threes in the regular season, and the only thing that was keeping me from thinking that they were, going to do something, not going to do nothing in the playoffs, is the fact that I believe they could win 1 game. And with shooting variance being the way it is in Boston, I figured the game like this would happen eventually. And it happened. So there's that. By the way, despite Franz shooting 23% from 3, I just want to point that out. 23% from 3. Despite that, he had 32 points. He went to the free throw line and made 7 out of 12 shots, which is not the world's greatest free throw percentage. But he did serviceable. He was serviceable, in my opinion. His turnovers were low, which is really good, and Paulo's turnovers were at 4, which is a team high. No, never mind. Cole Anthony has 5. Jeez. Again, this was not a spectacular game for the Orlando Magic, but this was their best game they've had so far. They finally crossed into the 90-point threshold, so there's that. That's really disappointing, to be honest. If this team ever gets a serviceable offense, not even a good one, a serviceable offense, they will be a threat, and for many years to come. Talk about Milwaukee's game. The Milwaukee game. Okay, so if I told you there were 2 Milwaukee players that scored 37 points, your first thought would be, oh, Giannis had 37 points. And your second one would be, so Dame had 37 points in a comeback game, right? It's second game back. Maybe you warmed it up. That is not what happened. Giannis had 37 points, like I said, but the other 37 was from Gary Trent Jr. In fact, Dame played worse than he did in his debut games, because instead of 14 points, he walked out with 7. Dame's defense was really good last night. I'll give him that. He looked really good. He had a couple of blocks. Let me check. He did have a couple blocks. His turnovers were low. He looked like a Swiss Army knife. His assists were good. The rebounds. His scoring is not there yet, but if he's gonna play decent in all of these departments, they might not need that for them to win games. I would have appreciated it if he scored more, because Gary Trent Jr. is not gonna have 37 every game. He blew up in the third quarter, by the way. The rest of the Bucks team's 3-point shooting was terrible, and he shot 9 for 12. Kuzma finally had a game where he put points on the board, and I was like, yay! I was cheering for Kyle Kuzma because he had been so abysmal in the previous games. It was pretty good, amazing to watch him do anything at all. 2 turnovers, a little bit much, but not the craziest thing. I expect that from him. Giannis had 5 turnovers, which is Now, I've seen too many 7 turnover games, so I'm going to let this one slide, especially considering that he did not have a lot of offensive help last night. But the fact that he had a almost 1-to-1 ratio as far as turnovers to assists, yeah, that is something to be tentative of, especially considering who they're playing against. And that team gets out in transition and is really annoying to deal with, so you need to cut that down if they look to win the series. I don't think they will, though. By the way, Giannis had that 37 points on 73% from the field. 73 is a little bit, for those who don't know, he basically was shooting 75% there. I'm not going to lie. That's what it was. He made 9 out of his 10 free throws, which is a vast improvement from any of the games I've seen previous. That's probably why he had basically almost 40 points. The amount of shots he took is under 20, actually. So just think about that. He took less than 20 shots from the field, and he almost had 40. That is insane efficiency. He's an all-time great for a reason. The guard play from them was actually much better than it had been in many of the games. Kevin Porter Jr. was worse, but Gary Trent Jr. showed up. Dame was pretty good, just pretty good. They removed Taurean Prince from the starting lineup and inserted Gary Trent. That gave them a little bit more shooting. I gave them a little bit more shooting because Prince has been not as good as a shooter as of late. When they initially made that move, though, I was worried for their defense because I was worried that Prince's size Because again, Prince is going to obviously match up with your small forward. I was worried that they don't have enough size in their starting lineup for this to work. Bobby Portis. Let me see Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis had a decent game. This is the amount of production and shots I want him to be taking, to be honest. Missed all of his threes, and so a lot of them were wide open too. I'm not going to give him bailout for that, but it could have been much worse. And I'll leave them alone because he had a win, and they did out offense the Pacers. Aaron Naismith was having a good game, keeping it very competitive. This was one of the reasons why this game was so close up until the very tail end of the game, where he finally stopped being as hydrogen bomb. Tyrese Halliburton only had 14 points. The commentary from this game, they were trying to say, just you got to make him into a scorer and less of a playmaker, which is just not true, because actually when he scores more than 20 points, they win. I think they're like 43-6 apparently when he scores more than 20 points. So turning him into a scorer is not what you want to do against him. It is like the worst thing you could possibly do. Trying to turn him into a scorer. Because if he does score, you're going to get torched. Miles Turner had a very bad game, in my opinion. Not even only just on the offensive end, on the defensive end, he had some pretty careless fouls, and his shooting was not there today. That's another reason why they lost. Nembhard's defense was really good. Unfortunately, his offense was terrible. Another reason why they lost. Toppin had a serviceable game. Not a lot of shots taken, but he missed all of his threes, and he averages like 40% from three. So don't expect that to happen again. This might be an outlier game for the Milwaukee Bucks, in my opinion. This does not move the needle for me in the slightest, and I do not think they'll win the series. Now, if Dame gets more offensive production from them, they can make it a competitive 5 games, but that's it. That's pretty much it. As far as that game goes, let's talk about the other one. Again, this was another day where I had to watch multiple games at once. It got to the point where there was 3 games going on at once. Man, it was tough. That's all I can say. The Orlando game was the most entertaining game in my opinion. As far as LA and the Timberwolves, this game got out of reach at the very tail end of the game. Don't let the score of the game fool you. By the way, Milwaukee pulled away in like the third and fourth quarter. They really made grounds because halftime was tied. This was the game where Luka was sick. I would like to point out this really quickly. This does not change my prediction. I still have Lakers in 6. Even if I think Luka will bounce back and not be as sick. It was probably a stomach bug, and they're gonna have him medicated, and he'll be fine. Rui had a decent game offensively, but he was in foul trouble a lot, which led to him not being on the floor nearly as well. He was on the floor, but not able to actually play defense nearly as much as you would like for him. So it's very difficult to win games like that when they have less shooting. Austin Reeves was really bad. I don't care what the numbers tell you. The numbers are going to tell you he was 7 for 18. That's true. 7 for 18 is not good, by the way, just in case we were unclear. 5 of 11 from 3 is good. And then he only got to the free throw line in one trip for 2 points. His turnovers were bad. LeBron's turnovers were bad. There was a fan in the crowd using a whistle. Oh, LeBron has 1 turnover. My bad. LeBron was amazing this game, by the way. Just truly spectacular. This man is 40 years old. He had 30 points on 13 of 21 shooting. Made 7 out of his 10 free throws and made 5 out of his 9 threes. This was the LeBron game. I think if LeBron is going to have a performance like this and you lose, it's probably going to be very hard to win this series. Now, I do have to admit, Luka was sick, so not going to hold this game against them. I think the Lakers will bounce back. I think if they limit their turnovers, this team had 19 turnovers total. 20 turnovers as a team, you're not going to win playoff games. That's just not going to happen. I think JJ Redick will make the adjustments needed. Jackson Hayes is also not playing a lot of minutes in this series, obviously. But there's a problem. The problem with that lies on the opposite side, though. They're getting out-rebounded very bad, and I'm not really sure what they can do. This team still has the same weaknesses that they did in the regular season, and people pretended like there wasn't an issue. They needed a Mark Williams to make this really work, especially considering that since they didn't, get that trade through, they haven't played Dalton Connect that much, and they vetoed that trade because of Mark Williams' health reasons. And then the Hornets had him playing games, so I'm super weirded out by that entire situation. By the way, Gabe, decent game, Gabe and Dorian Finney-Smith were good. They were good. The problem was the turnovers, really. The guys who needed to show up and do their part did their part. The turnovers were really bad. Luka being sick, Austin being whatever that was, Rui just having, I don't know what was going on with Rui. And Dorian Finney-Smith had two turnovers that were like, Yeah, they're not going to win like that, obviously. And then Bronny got playoff minutes before Shedeur Sanders got drafted, and I found that very comical. Shedeur got drafted today, by the way, for my football fans. He went to the Browns. So, as a Ravens fan, I look forward to cracking you every year. Really, just absolutely sending a blitz at you and hitting you. I cannot wait. Can't wait to get those sacks on you. So, that's pretty much going to do it for today. I don't really have a lot to say. I don't really have a lot to say about these games. Ant was really good from 3. Ant was really good. Ant played amazing. Randall had another good game. Really getting rid of that stigma of talking about, man, this guy is not ready for the playoffs. Jaden McDaniels only made 1 3 and had 30 points. I don't know what was going on with him last night. He was amazing. It seems like you're going to get a bipolar series from him, whereas though one game he's going to be amazing and the next game he's going to be terrible. I will passionately call this the Jalen Green symptoms. I've never seen, Mike Conley was also not a 0 this game, which is another reason why they won. Pretty good from him. I'm impressed by that. Nickeil Alexander-Walker did not have a lot of playoff minutes. Did not have a lot of minutes this game. And to be honest, I'm not surprised that he didn't have that based on his production. I think Finch has coached the series very well and handled it as he should. I don't really think that there's anything else to say about that, to be quite honest. And as far as Anthony Edwards and his performance, early off in the game, he was not getting his shot to fall inside of the arc. And I mean like these layups. He didn't really take a lot of mid-range shots for me. He can make those, but he didn't take them as much. And then from 3, he shot 10 threes. I was like, if Ant's gonna have a problem getting into the paint and making these shots, I need you to use the jumper and 3-point shot that you've been working on this entire year. And when he finally started doing that, he was torching them, 5 of 10, and that's why he got to 29 points, because he didn't make it to the free throw line even once this game. Now that's concerning to me, and an issue that was something to be worried about when he started shooting this many threes. But it's going to be very hard to get to the rim in these scenarios. I would also just like to say, any series that is currently 3-0, so like Cleveland is now up 3-0, and the Thunder are going to play their last game probably today. In this series, they're up 3-0. Don't expect any of those teams to come back. They're not going to, and if they do, it is a miracle. No team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. There's 18 minutes of my life gone down the drain. Trying to talk about some games that I really didn't have too much emotions for. I'm not gonna lie. These were good. These were entertaining all up until the tail end. To be honest, I found Milwaukee's crushing of the Pacers this game to be very interesting. I'm very worried that the Pacers might lose momentum though. Might lose momentum because the Bucks can come back from down being 2-0. Giannis has done that before. He did it in the finals, so the Pacers are not safe. So the Pacers need to figure out what they're doing. The Los Angeles Lakers need to have less turnovers, obviously. It's much easier to make the adjustments when you were the team that lost, and you lost in a specific way that was very obvious. It's not as if Memphis' defense got amazingly better overnight, bro. Oh, and for those wondering, since by the time this is uploaded, this game will already be over. Ja is not playing in this game either, in this final game of the Grizzlies series. That's why I'm calling it the finale. He got undercut really badly. I don't know if I covered that in the last name. Yeah. Have a good day. If you liked the video, like the video. If you didn't like the video, don't dislike the video. Tell me why you didn't like it in the comment section. And yeah, peace.